On October the 6th past, it was what is known these days, among other things, as Grandparents' Day. But it was our communion, so we couldn't really mark that at that time. And this is the first Sunday since when we've been able to think about this. So that's the kind of theme of this wee talk and the sermon later. And I'm an honorary grandparent and great-grandparent myself, suddenly. We used to love going down to see Rachel and David and Jack and Sophie. When Sophie was a toddler, she hadn't said anything to me. She was just starting to speak. But one day I was in the kitchen and she followed me through to the kitchen. And she looked up at me and I knelt down and I said, "You are a beautiful little baby girl." And she eyeballed me. And she, "Becky." She was not interested what she looked like. What she wanted was a biscuit. So I gave her the name Becky, and I called her Becky. The funny thing was that 2 or 3 years earlier, the first word that Jack had said to me was "juicy." So we had Juicy and we had Becky, and they got these names, still get these names. And a few years after that, as Sophie was going to school, I used to write her a wee bedtime story from time to time. So this is, could we have the next image, please? That's her. So this is Becky Brown's Space Adventure. Won't have a series. So, are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Little Becky Brown looked up through her bedroom window in her new house and said, "How beautiful the night sky is. I can see thousands of stars shining so brightly. I wonder what they're like up close. And there's the moon. It's big and bright tonight, as if it's near to us on Earth. I'd love to go in a spaceship and explore our universe." Becky climbed into her bed and soon fell into a wonderful, beautiful dream. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, said the intercom voice of the flight controller. Becky looked out of her spaceship window and saw the people watching her take off down below. There was Dad waving up to her, and Mum and Jack were on their mobile phones, because they were always on their mobile phones. "This is so exciting," said Becky. The engines became louder and louder until they sounded like an explosion. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. "We have liftoff," said the intercom voice. And slowly at first, Becky's spaceship left its dock and began speeding up towards space. Becky could just see the curve of the Earth in the distance, and then she was looking into space itself. "We'll go to the moon first," thought Becky, "and then to Mars, and maybe that's all we'll have time on this trip. I can come back again another day and explore further. Becky rehearsed the names of the planets of the solar system. Could we have the next? There's the wee pictures and the writings in colour, and these wee pictures are in it as well. So there we are: Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and its moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Earth just means ground, but all the other planets were called after ancient Roman gods and goddesses. And that must be because God made the earth specially, thought Becky. Becky looked out as the moon came near. It's very grey and dull, she thought, a bit like Sunderland on a winter day. But I don't see any houses or anything. Becky said to the flight controller, "Prepare to land," she heard. Becky heard on her intercom, The spaceship slowed down and reversed down onto the surface of the moon, and Vicky switched off the engines. I can't see anyone, she thought. There must be somebody here. Vicky stepped out onto the moon dust. I feel so light, she cried, laughing. I can jump high into the air. I can do somersaults. This is fun. Vicky bounced around as if she was on a trampoline. Then she suddenly caught sight of the planet Earth in the distance. Can we get that next image? There we are. It's beautiful. It's blue, she said. It's awesome. I've just come from there, all this way, 238,390 miles. Vicky remembered that she had learned on a television program that on Christmas Eve, 1968, the crew of the American spaceship Apollo 8 read in turn from the book of Genesis as they orbited the moon. Bill Anders, Jim Lovell, and Frank Borman recited Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 to 10. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. They did this because some people think that it all just came about by chance and that there's no creator who made us. By chance, thought Vicky. What? All this? I don't think so. Jesus believed in God, thought Vicky, and that is good enough for me. Vicky gathered up samples of moon dust to take back home for research. There's nothing else here to do, she thought. I'll take a trip to Mars. Vicky stepped back into her spacecraft and set off again. This is awesome, she thought. I wonder how far I could go. Will I ever get back to Earth? Have we got the next image? Yes. Mars was a little red dot on the far horizon, 77,790,000 miles from Earth. But it didn't take Vicky long to get there, and she was looking out for a landing spot on the rocky, hilly surface. Why is it red? She said to herself. Then she remembered she had seen on television that Mars is red because it has iron in its rocks and soil, and that makes it a rusty color. Vicky got out of her space capsule and stepped out onto the dusty red soil. It's not at all friendly here for us humans, she thought. We can't breathe here. It's very, very cold. I'm glad I've got a good space suit and oxygen to keep me alive. Vicky explored around her space capsule and took soil samples for this research. And she looked back towards Earth, just a little dot in the distance. Can we see that one? That's the soil. And that's that one. Can you see Earth there? I'll be glad to get home now, said Vicky. She climbed back into her capsule and set off for Earth. Vicky thought how good it was that Jesus had come to tell us about God's love for us. She remembered a text from the Bible. In the beginning was the Word. Through him all things were made. I know what that means, she said to herself. Suddenly, Vicky woke up and realized that she had just had a fantastic dream. I must tell Jack, she said. At breakfast, Vicky told her brother all about her marvelous dream. That's great, said Jack. Did you know about the 2 astronauts from Middlesbrough who found a restaurant on the moon? No, said Vicky. Oh, they didn't like it, said Jack. Why not? Asked Vicky. The atmosphere, said Jack. What's a spaceman's favourite chocolate? Asked Vicky. Come on, folks. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. What do you get when you cross a lamb and a rocket? Asked Jack. I don't know, replied Vicky. A space sheep. What did Mars say to Saturn? Asked Vicky. Tell me, said Jack. Give me a ring sometime, said Time for school, said Dad, popping his head round the door. Okay, said Jack. Vicky put on her coat and picked up her school bag. I think I'll tell my teacher about my wonderful dream, said Vicky, and off they went. The end.